Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. We are coming to you live via Facebook streaming, via YouTube streaming, and also via Skype online. Each one of you is welcome to this live streaming. It's the beginning of New Year. People ask, what is the message for New Year? The only message that an awakened one can give is be aware. Each year has 12 months. 12 months, I'm breaking it down. The year have 12 months, 52 weeks, 365 days, 8,760 hours, 525,600 minutes, and 31,536,000 seconds. Which is important? A moment, which is the smallest unit of the year. If you are aware, each moment when something is happening, God always, or godliness, comes to you as unknown and unknowable. It is said God is unknown and unknowable, but He knocks at your door every moment as something new, opportunity, new circumstance, new situation for which you do not know how to act. If you are going with preconditioning, you will not be able to be aware. But if you are using your intelligence, if you are aware, you are using your consciousness, you will use that opportunity, that moment, to merge into the unknown and unknowable, the existence. When your life continues like this, there is bliss. And this is the only message that an awakened one can give you. Be aware every moment. If your shoulder shrugs, it should not be an act of unconscious. It should be a conscious act. It is said, when once Buddha was sitting in the commune, he went to a new place where Prasanajit was the king. So the king came to meet Buddha. Commune session was going on. Prasanajit expected a warm welcome because he is the king and he has come to meet a beggar Buddha, the master. So Buddha will get up and welcome him, but nothing like that happened. No one was there to greet him, to point out towards the seat. But when you go to a temple or to your so-called religious places, if an important person is to come, already the arrangements are made for him to be welcomed, to be taken to the podium or to the special seat arranged for him. So Prasenajit sat down, but he felt insulted. And in that state he could not listen to the sermon. When the sermon was over, Buddha acknowledged him. He said, Prasenajit, why is your big toe shaking? So he felt insulted in that moment. Because of that, unconsciously his big toe was shaking. So when you are aware, things will not happen unconsciously. This is the message. Live moment to moment, totally aware. Only then there is a possibility of transformation. We had been taking the sutras, how to enter the inner centering. The first sutra says, look at some object lovingly. Make no distinction between an object and a person. We make a person an object, but we do not know how to make an object a person. You have a dog, a cat, we give it a name, and in giving a name, you make it alive. You have a vehicle, you can give it a name, identify it as a person, and in doing so, you make that object a person. There is no need, because when you look at something lovingly, anything, sentient or insentient, becomes a person. The very look, the way you look at the person, object, or thing, it is transformed. Someone comes in, how you look at the person, your very look makes the first contact and makes the person. The process of transformation begins that very moment. You may or may not have observed what happens when you drive a particular car. Say for instance Toyota. There are thousands and one of Toyota cars, exactly similar, same model. But your car, if you are in love with it, becomes something unique. And to identify this, there is a number plate and chassis number. Number plate is outside, but the chassis number is, and the engine number is within the dashboard. You do not see the number plate or the identification number of the vehicle. It is for the others to see. How do you establish your connection, intimate relation with the vehicle? By giving it a name. I have given names to my car. One is black. So you can call it Blackie. That is what we do call our dogs. But there is a beautiful name. Kalindi is the name for black. It is the name for Yamuna river. I call the black Toyota as Kalindi. So in my account books, whenever gas is taken or a service is done, it is gas Kalindi. Then there is another vehicle which is a service vehicle which is in white color. It is symbol of fairness. I call it Gori or Gauri. So it is identified as Gauri. The moment you have what you had done, you had make it alive, you have make it a person. And it cannot be replaced. A relationship is established. Now you feel this car as a person. Anytime the car goes in a hole or there is a sound, it hurts as if it has hurt you. If something goes wrong, a slight sound and you feel it. The cars are very temperamental. You know the temper of your car, when it feels good and when it feels bad. Almost 1 year I did not drive my car because there was only one car that was being used as a service vehicle by this driver or the salesperson. So now that with the service vehicle came in, I got the hold of my own vehicle. So in order to establish my rapport with the vehicle, I sat down as if I am going into a love affair. I drove that car to get the complete feel of the vehicle. Now it is personalized. It has become, I am the driver and no one else will drive it. So you know the every in and out of the vehicle. The car becomes by and by a person. This can happen with anything. The moment you establish that kind of connection, it responds to you. When I am writing, I need a pen that does not stop its fluency, because the fluency of the pen as it is moving on the paper, it connects to my thought process. Whenever there is a breakdown of the pen, it disturbs the thought process. It's not it is dependent on, there is a subtle connection between the two. You have made it alive. Why? If there is a love relationship with your pen, with your laptop, with your speaker, with your phone, with anything, it becomes a person. If there is a lust relationship, even with your wife, then the person becomes an object. You objectify and you subjectify, and this is one of the most inhuman act one can do, to make someone an object. Look lovingly, the sutra says, look lovingly at some object. So what is one to do? When you look lovingly, what are you to do? One thing, forget yourself. Forget yourself completely. Look at the flower, look at the object, and in doing so, forget yourself completely. Let the flower be, and you become completely absent. Feel the flower, deep love, and deep love will flow from your consciousness towards the flower. Let your consciousness be filled with only one thought: how to make this flower more beautiful. If it is a person, how to make this person more beautiful, more comfortable, to become more blissful. Nothing else is to be done. What can you do? It is not meaningful whether you can do it or not. That is not relevant. The feeling of what you can do, this pain, this deep ache over what you can do to make this flower beautiful, more alive, more flowering, is important. It is very easy to do this towards a person, but towards an object is most difficult. In doing so, you become compassionate towards sentient and insentient object. Let this thought, how to make this flower more beautiful, more alive, more flowering, echo into your whole being. Let every fiber of your body and the mind feel it. You will be transfixed in an ecstasy, and the flower will become alive for you. It will become a person. The sutra continues, when you look at an object, do not go into another object. You cannot go. If you are in love relationship, you cannot go. If you love someone, then forget the entire crowd. Only one face remains. Really, you do not see anything else. You see only one face. Everything else becomes absent. But they are subliminal, just on the periphery of your consciousness. They are not. They are just shadows. Only one face remains prominent for you. If you love someone, then only that face remains and you cannot move. Do not go to any other object. Remain with one. Remain with the rose flower, or remain with the beloved's face. Remain there loving, flowing, with just one heart, with one feeling. What can I do to make the loved one happier and blissful? Here in the middle of the object, the blessing. And when this is the case, you are absent, you are not concerned with yourself at all, not selfish, not thinking in terms of your pleasure, your gratification, your joy. You have forgotten yourself completely. You are just thinking in terms of the other. The other has become the center of your love. The welfare of the other echoes into every fiber of your being. Your consciousness flows towards the other with deep compassion, with deep feeling of loving. You are thinking, what can I do to make the loved one more blissful? In this state, suddenly, here in the middle of the object, the blessing happens. Suddenly, as a byproduct, blessing comes to you and you become suddenly centered. This looks paradoxical because the sutra says to forget yourself completely, not to be self-centered. to move to the other completely. Buddha is reported to have said continuously that whatsoever you are praying, pray for others. Never pray for yourself, otherwise the prayer will become useless. When you pray for the others, the benefit will come to you. Once a man came to Buddha and said, I accept your teaching, but only one thing is very difficult to accept. You say whenever we do prayers, we are not to think about ourselves. We are not to ask anything about ourselves. We have to say whatsoever may be the result of my prayer, let its benefit be distributed to all. If blessing happens, let it be distributed to all. The man said, this is okay. But can I make only one exception? Not to my immediate neighbor. He is my enemy. Let this blessing be distributed to all except to my immediate neighbor. The mind is self-centered. So Buddha said, your prayer is useless. Nothing will come out of that. It's useless. You are ready to give all. You are ready to give all to all, distribute all, then all will be yours. In love, you are to forget yourself. It looks paradoxical. Then, when and how will the centering happen? If being totally concerned with the other's happiness, when you forget yourself completely and only the other remains there, suddenly you are filled with bliss, with joy, the blessing. That's why he said, when you are looking at the object, any object, do not move to any other object. In the middle, the blessing. Why? Because when you are not concerned with yourself, you are completely empty, vacant. The inner space is created in that. When your mind is totally concerned with the other, you become mindless within. Then there is no thought inside, and then this thought, how can I be helpful to the other? How can I create more bliss? How can the other be more happy? Cannot continue. Cannot continue anymore, because really there is nothing you can do. This thought becomes a stop. There is nothing you can do. What can you do? If you think you can do, you are thinking still in terms of your self-ego. With love object, one becomes totally helpless. Remember this. Whenever you love someone, you feel totally helpless. There is agony this is the agony of love. One cannot feel what he can do. He wants to do everything. He wants to give the whole universe to the lover or the beloved. What can he do? If you think that you can do this or that, you are still not in love relationship. When you reach that state, that you feel yourself helpless, absolutely helpless. And that helplessness has its beauty, because in that helplessness, you are totally surrendered. Love someone and you will feel helpless. Hate someone and you can do something. Love someone and you are absolutely helpless, because what can you do? Whatsoever you can do seems insignificant, seems meaningless, seems not enough, that you have not done enough for the person. Nothing can be done. And one feels that nothing can be done, one feels helpless, when one wants to do everything and feels nothing can be done, in that very moment, mind stops. In this helplessness, when mind has stopped, surrender happens. You are empty. That is why love becomes a deep meditation. Really, if you love someone, no other meditation is needed, but because no one really loves, 112 techniques of meditation are there. Even they may not be enough. Love itself is the greatest method, but the most difficult, almost impossible. Love means putting yourself out from your consciousness, and in the same place where your ego has been in existence, putting someone else, replacing yourself with someone else means love. Replacing yourself with someone else is the beginning of love, as if now you are not, the only the other is. Then the meditation begins. But Jean-Paul Sartre says, the other is hell, and he is right. He is right because the other creates only hell for you. And he is wrong also because if other can be a hell, the other can be the heaven also, because heaven and hell are two sides of the same coin. If you live through lust, the other is hell, because then you are only trying to kill that person. You are trying to make the other person an object. Then what? Then that person will also react and will try to make you a thing, and that creates a hell. Both are trying to reduce one another to an object. So every husband and every wife, they are creating hell for each other, because each one is trying to possess the other, and in very effort of possessing the person is reduced to an object. Possession is only possible for things, never with persons. You can only be possessed by a person. You can never possess a person. A thing can be possessed, but you try to possess the persons. Through that effort, the person is reduced to an object. If I make you an object, you will react. Then I am your enemy. Then you will try to make a thing out of me, and this creates the hell. You are sitting in your room alone. Suddenly you become aware that someone is peeping through the keyhole. observe minutely what happens then. Have you felt any change? And why do you feel angry about this peeping Tom? He is not doing anything to you, just peeping. Why do you feel angry? He has changed. By peeping, he has changed into a thing, an object. He is observing. He has made you into a thing, into an object, and this gives you a feeling of uneasiness. And the same will happen to him if you come near the keyhole and look through it. The other will become shattered, shocked. He was a subject just a moment before. He was the observer and you were the object being observed. Now suddenly he has been caught. He has been observed. He has been observing you, and now he has become a thing. When someone is observing you, suddenly you feel your freedom has been disturbed, destroyed. That is why unless you are in love with someone, you cannot stop. You cannot stare. Unless you are in love with someone, you cannot stare. That stare becomes ugly and violent. Unless you are in love. If you are in love, then stare is a beautiful thing. Because your stare is not changing the other or converting or reducing the other into an object. Then you can look directly into the eyes. The person will not feel uncomfortable. Then you can do deep into the eyes of the other. You are not changing the person into an object. Rather, through your look, through your love, you are making that person more alive. That is why only the stares of the lovers are beautiful. Otherwise, a stare is the ugliest thing. Psychologists say that there is a limit, and you all know, observe, and you will come to know what is the time limit. And time limit is for how long you can stare into somebody's eyes. If he is a stranger, there is a time limit. One moment more, the other becomes angry. Just a passing look in public can be pardoned because it seems as if you were just seeing, not looking. A look is a different phenomenon. If I just see you when passing, no relationship is created. Or I am passing and you look at me, just a passing look, no offense, means okay. But if you suddenly stand and look at me, you become an observer. Then your look can disturb me and I can feel insulted. What are you doing? I am a person, and this is no way to look. Because of this, clothes have become so meaningful. Only when you love someone can you be easily naked. Because the moment you are naked, your whole body becomes an object. Someone can look at your whole body, and if he is not in love with you, his eyes will turn your whole body, your whole being into an object. And when you are in love with someone, you can be naked without feeling that you are naked. Rather, you will like to be naked because you would like this transforming love to transforming whole body into a person. Whenever you are turning someone into a thing, the act is immoral. But if you are filled with love, then that love-filled moment with any object, this phenomena, this blessing is possible. It happens. The sutra says, in the middle of the object, the blessing, suddenly you have forgotten yourself. The other was there. Then when the right moment comes, when you are no longer present, absolutely absent, the other will also become absent. And between these two, when the two are absent, the blessing happens. That is what lovers feel. That blessing is also because of the unknown, unconscious meditation. When two lovers are there, by and by they become absent. A pure existence remains without any ego, without any conflict, just a communion. In that communion, one feels blissful. It is wrongly inferred that the other has given you the bliss. The bliss is the outcome of becoming unknowingly. You have fallen into a deep meditative technique. But then you become blessed. Then you think that because of the person's nearness, proximity, because this blessing is happening, then you think I must possess the person, because without A being present around me, I will not be able to get this blessing again. Jealousy comes in. If someone else possesses A, then he will be blissful and you will be miserable. This is what happens. You love someone, and if someone else starts loving that person, you are miserable. So you want to take away all possibilities of A being by possessed anyone else. A should be possessed only by you. You do not give the freedom, because you have glimpsed a different world through him. Then the moment you try to possess, you will destroy the whole beauty and the whole phenomena. When the lover is possessed, love vanishes. Then the lover is just an object. You can use it, but blessing will never come back again. But the moment you possess, love becomes impossible. The blessing will not happen. If it can happen with a rose flower, it can happen with a rock, it can happen with trees, it can happen with anything once you know the situation in which it happens. It can happen anywhere. If you know that you are not, And with deep love, your consciousness has moved to the other, to the trees, to the sky, to the star, to anyone. When your total consciousness is addressed to the other, it leaves you, it moves away from you. In that absence of self, the blessing happens. Only this much for this morning. Until we meet again, take care and do have a pleasant day.